trees are one thing we can all agree on. Fires and natural disasters devastate our forests. The time to act is now. Visit arborday.org and see how you can help.
Hey, I'm Keith Spiro from NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune. My guest this week on Let's Talk is comic and comedy producer Matt Owens. Matt, are you a funny guy? Are you more funny when you're working as a comic or when you're like directing a show?
As a comic, I'm more funny.
Excellent. All right. Well, we'll hear all the secrets of the comedy world this week on Let's Talk.
We're local and educational. You're watching WLAE-TV, celebrating 40 years of
Inside New Orleans Sports with Eric Asher is underwritten by.
At Villere's Florist, we deliver the magic of flowers 7 days a week to the North Shore and South Shore in the New Orleans area. Whether it's for birthday parties, baby celebrations, Villere's provides colorful floral displays for all. With a store full of fresh-cut flowers, exotic tropical flowers, orchids, roses, and even fruit baskets, our goal is to make your vision a reality. Villere's Florist, proudly serving Louisiana since 1969.
Dave Miette Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood, business, 504-556-0809. Dave Miette, INSagency.com.
C&C Drugs is a family-owned pharmacy that's been serving Southeast Louisiana for over 50 years. Whether you need help taking care of an elderly family member, a growing child, or even a pet, C&C provides patient-centered care for your entire family. C&C Drugs, large enough to serve you, small enough to know you. Locations in Mandeville and Araby.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of Inside New Orleans Sports. I'm your host, Eric Asher. Over the next hour, we will cover the home teams, Saints, LSU, Tulane. If we got some time, we'll touch on Pels. I don't know if we're going to get to that. It's football season here. Join us on the program, and I really love having this guy on the program. He's been on my radio show, been on the TV show. He's going to get tired of me calling him. Seth Lewis of, Seth of WLAE-TV. Sports. Seth, welcome to the show.
Yeah, no problem. They got a lot of WWLs. WWL-TV, WWL Radio, a little bit of everything. I understand.
Seth, welcome back to the show. And again, we were just talking before, we had done this before, but again, for folks that, again, they're just kind of tuning in and seeing you around, doing your thing for Channel 4, and I tell you, you've done a fantastic job doing stuff at Channel 4 as well, whether, again, it's reporting, anchoring, again. Tell the folks a little bit about you, because we got a little something in common. We both went to De La Salle.
Yes.
And then Katrina hit. Like,
yep.
My son was dealing with that as well. He was going to Chalmette High. He was a freshman there. Katrina hits. Next thing you know, again, we're up in Dorleen, Louisiana. He's going to school there, ends up going to a bunch of different schools. You ended up in Opelousas, right?
Correct. Yeah, I mean, like at this point, New Orleans and Opelousas are both home to me.
Yes.
But yeah, De La Salle. I grew up in the East. Like we were just talking about off Morrison and Dowman.
Yeah. So you just got over there and grabbed a little something to eat this week?
Yo, Castnet, man. Okay. Shout out to Castnet.
There you go.
Got a pool boy over there. But it's cool, and we're about to near the 20-year anniversary of Hurricane Katrina, and I've been watching documentaries. Like there's a documentary on Hulu right now, and so it's been like really reflective on everything, and just honestly thankful to God just where we've been able, how He's brought us through with everything, and how He brought me back. You know what I mean? Like being back in New Orleans. Yeah. Now I've been here close to 2 years. I'm about to make 2 years at Channel 4, and we'll be there for at least a few more years. And so it's just such a blessing, and it's so cool to be here around teams that I've watched my whole life.
Right. Coming back home, how is it for your family to be watching you on the small screen every day? I mean, it's got to be really, really, really great for them, huh?
Well, look, I can tell you, my sister, when I called her and told her I was working in Lafayette before that, which Lafayette is the same market that Opelousas is in, and I called my sister and she said, "This is the greatest day of my life. I'm happy for you too.
Yeah.
But it's the greatest day of my life because now I was the first family member, immediate family member, to move back to New Orleans. So it gave her somewhere that she could come back to, not having to stay with an aunt or an uncle or having to go to a hotel. And so, no, my family was super excited for me. I've seen them a lot.
That's good. That's good.
And I love to see them a lot. So, and I'm only 2 hours away from Opelousas, where I sometimes go back and visit my family. And so it's been cool. It's just I'm very blessed.
And you were telling me when we first met, your dad and your uncle, real big sports fans, huh?
Oh yeah, no, my dad was a big sports fan for sure. I mean, we had season tickets to Saints games and whatnot, and when the Hornets, I was at the Hornets' first game in 2002 against the Utah Jazz. Still have the commemorative ticket. Me too. You know what I mean? And we would get like the 10-game like weekend pack or the 10-game like big game pack or whatever they were selling. Like we weren't season ticket holders, but we went to a ton of games like Baron Davis, Jamal Mashburn, PJ Brown, Jamal McGlure. Like I could just rattle that whole roster off all the way down to like Bryce Drew. But it was cool. And yeah, like that's certainly what helped grow my passion, because even though I say I've watched it my whole life, I wasn't even in the sports up until the 2000s.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, being at Channel 4, again, an iconic station here in the city for, again, really since broadcasting began. We want to talk about TV broadcasting. Again, how has that been? Because again, y'all got a great group over there. You guys do a lot of really good job. I mean, you talk about 4th Down on 4. I mean, again, that's the standard when you start talking about sports shows in this town.
Yeah, the thing that's the coolest about it now is the fact that like I work with like-minded people. People that want to see the best product be put out there in Doug Mouton and in Ricardo LeCompte. But like growing up, this is the station that I watched. You know what I mean? I always watched Channel 4 or Channel 15. The replay if you were out in an event or something like that. And something that was really cool was when I graduated from college. I went to LSU, and when I graduated from LSU, my mom gave me a ESPN. It was like an ESPN chair picture stand. Right. And on the picture stand was a picture of me on a TV set at the Children's Museum, right? Right. And of course, the Children's Museum TV set was WWL. Yes. And so when I got the job here, I had that picture, and I was like, man, it was kind of destiny. It's kind of crazy.
I think it's just so great. Again, we're a unique city, right? Because again, a lot of times you see people that are in this business. They're maybe in their hometown if they get a chance just for a while, and then they're moving on to a bigger market. It seems that people, again, that are from the New Orleans metropolitan area, they want to come back and they want to be home. They want to report the news home. They want to report sports home. They want to be part of what's going on here.
There's no place like New Orleans. I mean, you know what I mean? And that's for better and for worse sometimes,
no,
right?
It is.
But there is no place like New Orleans. New Orleans, the culture, the food, the energy, the everything, it's unmatched. And so when you go other places, it's not to say that necessarily you're looking for that, but like sometimes you can be taken off guard at how much a place doesn't have that feeling. And then even for like guests, and this is something I always say that I think is beautiful about the city, is no matter if somebody has been here for 6 months or a year or 2 years, like this city has this unique ability to make someone feel like they're home really quickly. Like they could be from, I don't know, let's say they're from Chicago and they move to New Orleans, and they'll start telling people, hey, like, where are you from? I'm from New Orleans. Even though they didn't grow up, they weren't born and raised in New Orleans, but it makes you feel like you're from here because this city just has a really cool ability to wrap their arms around anybody that embraces it.
There's no doubt about it. Again, I think that's one of the reasons why we do so well in the tourism industry. We want everybody to love New Orleans because, again, we love New Orleans. And that's a big part of it. Before we get started, tell the folks about, again, all the great program at Channel 4. They got some really good shows online and also, again, on terrestrial TV. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, so 4th Down on 4, you mentioned it, Sunday, every Sunday, I should say, at 10:30, as well as our Ultimate New Orleans Sports Show that's hosted by Doug Mouton and Ross Jackson from the Locked On Saints podcast. I mean, we break down just a little bit of everything right now. It's obviously been a lot of Saints. My favorite part is that I get to drink on the job.
Yeah.
You know, I'm getting paid to drink on the
indeed.
job. We have a last call segment in which typically Ross or Doug or sometimes even a guest will come in and make a special cocktail,
Yes.
you know, because this city is known so much for its cocktails. And so those are the two like special, and that Ultimate New Orleans Sports Show, you can always catch that on our Roku app, WWL Plus.
Right.
But outside of that, like, I mean, the stuff that we do on a daily, the three of us, Doug, Ricardo, as well as Adam, they are photographer, like we do really good work because we're really passionate about what we do and about who we cover and about who we're telling these stories for, which is obviously our audience.
And of course, 4th Down Friday coming up soon, right?
Fourth Down Friday, yeah. I mean, it's going to be coming up.
Yeah.
I guess that would be like September 6th or something like that, or September 5th.
Yeah.
But I mean, before you know it, we'll be getting started with 4th Down Friday with Ricardo. So that'll be fun too.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Again, Seth Lewis with us here on Inside New Orleans Sports. All right, let's jump into it again. Now Seth has been at all the practices. He's had a chance to see the Saints up close and personal. Doug's in California right now with the team, and one of the reasons why I wanted to bring him on today, because again, he's at the scrimmages, he's seen it all. So we're going to get into that now. We'll talk some Saints, then we'll get into the B block. We'll get into the LSU and Tulane. If we have some time, we'll touch on the Pels as well. Scrimmage. First scrimmage again, longest practice of the training camp, 126 offensive plays. I'm going to go by what Ross said, okay? 88 passing plays, 18 different drives. Shuck had 8, Rattle had 6, Hainer had 4. Give us your thoughts on what you saw.
From the scrimmage, I would say that Shuck had the best day of the three guys. It was the first time that it really felt like Shuck had entered the race, because like we mentioned 3 guys, but the belief is that this is a 2-man competition between Spencer Rattler and Tyler Shuck, even though Jake Hainer is being also mentioned in that competition. And it was the first time where it really felt like, okay, Shuck is swinging back a little bit. You know, he led the only touchdown drive during that scrimmage, you know, on the first drive where it was 2s on 2s. And he had mistakes, like he had an interception at the goal line, but like also he led the team down inside the 10 or the 15 before that interception. And I loved Doug's word for it, because he called him risk averse. You know, like he was not willing to take chances before, and then all of a sudden in that scrimmage you saw him maybe taking a few more chances, maybe letting it rip, because the truth is, without mistakes, without being wrong, how do you know what's right? You have to get it wrong sometimes. And he's a young guy. Even if he is an older college player, he's still young. He still needs to learn. So you gotta let it rip. You gotta make mistakes. And so that Sunday scrimmage is the most progress that I feel like Shuck has made throughout this training camp.
Do you think, in your opinion here, is it because he's a gamer, or is it because maybe the coaching staff said, hey, you need to let this thing rip a little bit?
Well, we don't know that because we haven't had a game yet. You know what I mean? But when you have a scrimmage where it's all call it, you know, none of the plays were pre-designed or scripted. Like, it's just like, hey, just call it and just go with the flow. Like, he performed the best under that setting. And so it's going to be interesting to see in the preseason game if he is able to do the same thing, you know what I mean? And just let it go once it's like fully live bullets. And so like, it might be that, but like the truth is, to call him a gamer would be premature. But also to call him a bust would be premature. Like I've seen a lot of talk on the internet about like, man, here's this older QB and he's not performing well. It's like, man, he's been practicing for 2 weeks against NFL defenses. You know what I mean? Like, it's not even you just got to give it time. It's not like we haven't even got to preseason game number 1. The defense has looked good during the preseason. They might be legit. They also might not be as good because the offense is bad. We really won't even know that from the preseason. We'll know that by the time that the regular season gets here and they play the Cardinals in week 1. But at least with Shuck and at least with QB play, if he performs well in some of these preseason games, it at least gives you an idea of, okay, maybe he is a little bit more of a gamer than he is like a practice player, or maybe he is retaining a little bit more of the information than it seems to be in practice.
The depth chart has Spencer Rattler or Tyler Shuck or Jake Haener. Pretty much, again, what Moore said he was going to do, he would make a decision to pare down the quarterback battle after the Charger game. You've seen all three of these quarterbacks. Obviously, you saw Rattler last year in a regular season game. You've seen Haener. You've seen again. There's a small sample size of Shuck. Break them down.
Well, for me, I think that the person that's ahead right now is Rattler, and I think he has a clear lead. I don't think it's like the job is done or the battle is done, because like Rattler hasn't also, like the last few practices, hasn't been like awesome for him, you know, by any stretch. And so I feel like if Shuck has some good performances in the preseason, if he does well in California overall, like he can possibly catch up. But like it's clear that like Rattler's in the lead right now. And I think that some of it is just like having that game experience, like having 7 games that he played in, 6 games that he started. The one game that he came in as a backup was that game against the Commanders where they almost won it on a 2-point conversion. And so like for me, like I always, going into camp, my pick to win the job, at least in week 1, was Spencer Rattler, because I felt like those game reps were valuable. I felt like it's not only, okay, now knowing what an NFL defense gives you, but now when you go into your individual workouts, you can now say, oh, okay, these are the things that I wasn't strong in. Right. Let me work on this. Okay, these are the things that I did do well. How can I fine tune this? Like, you go into the off season, a full off season, by the way, as well, versus the previous off season. The first part of it, you were doing stuff to get ready for the combine, and then you're going into rookie mini camp and OTAs and all that stuff. Now you've had a full off season, some of which to like just tune in on what you learned from your rookie season in NFL. And so like for me, Rattler is the one. I would imagine that unless Shuck goes crazy in California and against the Chargers or something like that, like I'm still sticking with that Rattler will be the starter in week 1. Will he be the starter in week 18 is a good question. Will he even be the starter in week 5 or week 6 is a really good question. But I believe that right now, Rattler will be the starter in week 1, and it would take a lot from Shuck to probably unseat him for QB1 right now.
100% agree. 100% agree, because again, everything you just laid out. He's got 7 games on his belt as an NFL quarterback, 6 starts. Even though he struggled at times and they didn't win those games, he's still again seen the speed of the game in NFL defenses. The other thing is, again, the first 4 games of the season are probably your toughest games on the schedule right now. And most people think they might come out of the thing 0-4. So again, do you really want to throw your rookie quarterback out there and say, okay, sink or swim against maybe your 4 toughest opponents on the schedule? So to me, I believe both quarterbacks will play this year. Me too. Okay, I really do. I believe that maybe all 3 quarterbacks may play, depending on injuries, right? Yeah. Okay, but again, but I definitely believe that Shuck and Rattler will play this year. So to me, at this point, it's just about, again, seeing what Shuck can do in this preseason and seeing if incrementally he can get better week to week.
Yeah. Now, obviously, I'm not wishing for anybody to get cut, but like, they got to shave their roster down to 53 at some point. I'm not sure Haener's even going to be on the roster.
You think it's a vet? You think they go get a vet?
No.
Or you think they go with 2 quarterbacks?
Well, I mean, most teams go with 2 quarterbacks, and then they keep the emergency quarterback on the practice squad. The Saints just re-signed Hunter Deckers.
You think he's
I've
the guy?
always thought that like Hunter Deckers was probably going to end up being the 3rd quarterback, but being the 3rd quarterback because you can keep him on your practice squad. And so, I don't see. I think, if they kept Haener, that would be fine. I think that'd be cool. But I'm just not so sure that he's going to be, and I'm not sure what his eligibility would be when it comes to like the practice squad and things of that nature. But yeah, to me, both of those guys will get snaps at some point this season, because the truth is, when it comes to the Saints and when it comes to this QB battle and when it comes to their future, for one, I've really liked what I've seen, and I don't know if we were going to get to that, but I've liked what I've seen from Kellen Moore when it comes to camp and like setting his foundation and things of like, I like the vibe, and I like that like when the players talk about what Kellen Moore is doing, they can speak to like his intentionality. You know what I mean? And knowing that everything has a purpose. There is no wasted movement. There is no wasted drill. And so with having that intentionality and those things, like the foundation can be set, and the foundation might be good even if you get 3 wins. I don't know. I think that they're going to have more than 3 wins. But like, if you, let's just say hypothetically, they do have 3 wins, because that's not out of the realm of possibility, and they're not going to be favored in many games this year. If they get 3 wins and you're back at the top of the draft, and you have the ability to get somebody with the number 1, 2, 3 pick, you have to know that Shuck. You have to know what you have in Shuck. You have to know, okay, we do have confidence in this guy. We do see the potential. We can roll with him, which probably that means you're over 3 wins, if we're being honest. Or it's, okay, we tried Shuck. It didn't work out. Let's go back in the draft. Let's go get a prized possession at the top of the draft, no matter if it's Nuss from LSU, no matter if it's Lenora Sellers from South Carolina. People have mentioned Arch Manning at Texas. I'm not sure if he's even going to leave Texas in the first place. But like, no matter who it is, you can go get somebody at the top of the draft if you're lower. If you have 7 wins as the Saints, to me, that's a good season.
That's a great season.
If you get 7 wins with this roster, I believe that that's a great season, and I also believe that that means that your QB that you're going to roll with going forward is on your team, no matter if it's Rattler because he plays well or Shuck because he figures it out. Either way, if you end up in that 7-win range, then you have your quarterback of the future, and now you can go into the draft and figure out, okay, what else do we need to add to this thing? A lot of different things, right? You can go on and on. But, okay, now what pieces do we need to add to get stronger starters, maybe, which I think that they do have good starters. And then to like continue to fill out the depth of this team.
I concur. And my feeling is, again, that they drafted him at 40 because, again, they were looking for a quarterback this year. We could talk about maybe trying to get in the first round and getting a quarterback. That didn't happen. Again, they took Shuck at 40, and I think they did it with the knowledge of, hey, if this doesn't work out at 40, he could be our backup.
I was just about to say, you getting paid $10 million over 4 years. That's less than backup money in the NFL. That's the truth. And I think like some people, maybe they overblow it because of, okay, well, maybe the Saints could have drafted another quarterback, right? Like there were other guys available that were enticing. And in this era of the transfer portal and in this era of like 12-team college football playoff, things of that nature, like it is weird, I'm going to say, to have a quarterback pop up that you don't know as much about, right? Like just take like Dylan Gabriel, for example. Like we've seen Dylan Gabriel in 3 different stops in college have success and know that name. Like people just didn't know Shuck's name as much, but he did things at Louisville last year that really turned some heads. And so, if worse comes to worse, and the Saints knew Derek Carr's situation, right? And they knew it going into the draft.
Of course.
But like, no matter what, if you just look at it like we needed somebody in this, like we needed a quarterback. They needed another quarterback for the room. It didn't really, once you knew that Derek Carr might be out of the picture, well, you need 3 quarterbacks because there's no way that you can go into a season and say that Spencer Rattler and Jake Haener are going to battle each other with maybe a veteran coming in. Like, no, like you have to get somebody else to add to that room. And so if it doesn't work out and he ends up being your backup, that's not the worst thing in the world, and it's not like they could have used it. It's fine. This is a rebuild.
Right, it is. And I would agree. And look, the quarterbacks that are coming out this year, most people believe that, again, they're better than the quarterback crop that came out last year. So, again, if you're in that position, and you don't want to be the team chasing a quarterback, but you got to have one. So at that point, again, that may happen. Your point to Archie Manning comes out again in an article within the last couple days saying that, they don't believe, and, that Archie's coming out. And look, if you go by, again, the stats that are out there, what is it, 17 college games? Again, you're usually ready for the NFL. He doesn't have that. that. And they're not going to put him out there, and again, with a possibility of failure until he gets some games under his belt as a collegiate.
And let's be clear, Arch doesn't need money.
Right.
You know
Exactly.
what I mean? Arch doesn't need money from growing up nor from NIL. You
Yes.
know what I mean? So they have that luxury. And that man, I mean, the Manning family is class personified, right? And they are people that are very sure in what they do. Like, we've seen holdouts and people refusing to go to teams throughout the NFL. Like, nobody really criticizes Archie or Eli for the way that went down as far as like not allowing him to go to the Chargers because of how Archie carries himself, right? Like, if Archie is saying that, then Archie has a legitimate concern. It's not just because, we want to, like, it's not like, we want to get Eli to this media market in New York and like, no, he wasn't worried about that. He was worried about the organization infrastructure. Unfortunately, some of that was guided by how his tenure went with the Saints and saying like, hey, look, I dealt with this with the Saints. I don't want my sons to go to similar situations, right? I want them to go somewhere where they're going to be set up for success. And so if he says that about Arch, you have to trust it. You know what I mean? Because they have always done things in a way that's right, classy, and never in a way too, like, again, with that situation with the Chargers being so controversial, it was never trashing them. It was never in a way that was necessarily like demeaning or like trying to, like, it was going to be negative because you're going against the grain, but they weren't looking to do that. Like, they just were looking to put Eli in the best situation. 2 Super Bowls later, it's hard to argue that he wasn't put in the best situation.
No doubt about it. And of course, again, look, they want a quality organization as well. Okay, they don't as you mentioned, and I was around for the dog days of the Saints when Archie Manning was here, and look, it was not a good situation at all. And again, they're looking for the opportunity for this kid to succeed. So hopefully, again, we'll see that. Saints are in California. The training camp in California is going to shift to an afternoon practice. It'll be 6 to 8 New Orleans time. Again, they'll practice on today. There'll be a scrimmage on Friday. Then there'll be 3 more practices next week after the game against the Chargers on Sunday. Again, no information on the quarterback situation. Who's going to start? Whatever. We'll find that as we get a little bit closer to the game. But I want to talk a little bit about position battles if we could. And first of all, the main thing that I'm looking at going into this season is because of the changeover on the offensive defensive lines. From the defensive standpoint, going to, again, Staley's 3-4, a hybrid 3-4. Offensive line, the shift of so many offensive linemen in new positions. And again, much like we see in the collegiate game now, there's going to, you got to get some continuity here. And how quickly can they do that? You see these lines go up against each other in practice. What has been your impression of offense versus defensive lines?
Well, for one, I feel like the defensive line has won so far. Okay. Devon Gottschall, that guy is huge. You know what I mean? Like that guy is. We've heard his reputation as one of the best run stoppers. I got to cover him at LSU. I remember him on that really talented team with like Leonard Fournette and Malachi Dupree and all those, and Jamal Adams and all those guys. Trey White, like he was on that team, but he's like made such a reputation for himself in NFL as a run defender, and you can see. Like, man, there was a play at one of the camp practices where he literally swallowed Cam Akers. Like, I mean, like, it's just really impressive. Chase Young has always flashed. Yeah. And it's one of those things where, like, I mean, he was top 5 in NFL in pressures last year. Obviously, he has to get to the quarterback, but again, in camp, he's looked really good. Yeah. Carl Granderson has looked really good. Like he looks faster as a stand-up edge rusher, and so they have been impressive. The thing that I like about the offensive line, because I wouldn't say that the offensive line has necessarily played bad, but the thing that I like about the offensive line is once they decided, okay, let's try pinning at left guard and see how that works. They've stuck with the same 5 since OTAs. Yes. And so now the O-line, which Tali Fuaga goes from left tackle where he played last year to his natural position of right tackle that he played in college. Kelvin Banks has been a left tackle his whole time at Texas. And so now with Penning moving to left guard, which is a little bit unnatural, you have 5 guys all working together from OTAs to now, and then obviously going through the season, that have continuity.
Are you seeing it?
Yeah, I see the continuity.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and you just want it to build.
Yeah.
Like you want it to have a chance.
Right.
If it's, like, not to say that, like, if Penning had to be in a battle, then he's in a battle.
Right.
But, like, the good thing is, with Penning being at left guard only, now he just has a whole offseason to get comfortable with it, but to get comfortable with it with Kelvin Banks to his left.
Yeah.
And with McCoy to his right. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, like, I think that is the thing that gives them a chance. The thing that's going to be concerning, and it's going to be a theme with this team, is if people get hurt, what does it look like?
Yeah.
Like, what do the twos look like?
Yeah.
And it's not good. You know, like, and that's at most positions.
You've seen a drop-off?
It's a big drop-off.
Okay.
But it's a big drop-off at most twos.
It is.
For the Saints.
Right.
Like, there was a time when it wasn't like that.
Right.
Like, you go back to 2018, 2019, 2017, those teams, even though there was star power, like, the backups that were rolling out were, like, still really freaking good. Now there's a gap, and that's part of the reason why they're projected to finish as one of the worst teams in the NFL.
And one of the reasons why you're in a rebuilding mode right now.
100%.
Again, you're trying to bring that in. Look, we're going to take a quick break here because I'm running a little bit behind. So we'll hear from our underwriters. We come back, we're going to pick this up on the other side. We'll talk more about the defense. I got to find out how these outside linebackers are handling, again, passing situations. Totally new for Chase Young and Granderson. How are they doing, again, in terms of stopping the run? You heard Seth talk a little bit about Davon Godchow, the former LSU Tiger, how that's going to work with Brazil and some of the other guys on the line. And then, of course, the second and third levels of the defense, and then we'll get into the offense as well. And we'll get into some Tulane and LSU. You're watching Inside New Orleans Sport. Seth Lewis of WLAE-TV Sports is our guest. I'm your host, Eric Asher. Stay tuned.
Located at 3701 Iberville Street in Mid-City is Katie's Restaurant and Bar. Open 7 days a week, Katie's offers daily specials for lunch, dinner, and Sunday brunch. Serving New Orleans cuisine such as fried shrimp platters, grilled redfish, and a fully stocked bar. And don't forget about our expanded event seating and local entertainment. Featured on the Best of Food Network's diners, drive-ins, and dives, Katie's Restaurant and Bar.
Burkhart's Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration has been family-owned and operated since 1989. Burkhart has energy-efficient solutions and offers brands such as Mitsubishi ductless AC units and Amana, the only manufacturer with a lifetime unit replacement warranty. Burkhart's offers maintenance bundle packages that include servicing your AC, generator, and tankless water heater. For more information on the services Burkhart's provides, visit acpromise.com. Burkhart's Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration, and comfort for life.
Welcome back to Inside New Orleans Sports. I'm your host, Eric Asher. Seth Lewis of WLAE-TV Sports is our guest. We were talking as we were going to break a little bit about the offensive and defensive lines. And again, you mentioned, again, Godchow being able to stop the run. You know, Brazil kind of moves to a new position. And then, of course, we talked about a little bit I was teasing as we were going out, Granderson and also Chase Young now having to drop into coverage. Cam Jordan as well. How have they looked?
Yeah, I think that they've looked fine in coverage. You know, I think that you won't know. It's hard to judge them in coverage until, like, maybe you get in the games, because it's not like Chase Young is like running with a running back down the sideline on a wheel route. You know what I mean? Like, that's not exactly how that's
dropping
going.
in the zone more.
Yeah, probably dropping in the zone a little bit more. You like, I've seen them make a couple tackles on some like maybe on an out route or something in the flat or something like that. But I think that we're gonna see so much more of that once the preseason games begin and once the actual action begins, as far as like them dropping into coverage. I think that there's gonna be a lot of times where it's probably just all five of them rushing. You know what I mean? And then, like, Pete and DeMario is in coverage or whatever. But then obviously there's going to be times where Pete or DeMario is sent on a blitz, and then it's Chase going to the flat or whatever. I mean, I'm so interested to see it. The one thing that every player to a man has talked about on this defense is the versatility. The versatility, not only as far as like fronts and things of that nature, but also the versatility as far as like roles and like what they're able to do. And like we've heard from Justin Reed, who in a short time has already become one of the leaders on that defense. We've heard from Justin Reed talking about how like he can make calls and checks essentially from his safety position of like, okay, like, no, we should send you, or like, you know, nah, you need to cover this person or whatever. And I think that, and like somebody even asked him, like, so are you like the quarterback of the defense? He's like, yeah, you can say that. Like I am the quarterback of the defense. And sometimes that doesn't always come from the safety.
Yeah.
It can come from the safety, obviously, but sometimes that's DeMario. Sometimes that's your middle linebacker. And so that's going to be, all of that's going to be so interesting to see how all of the puzzle pieces fit. I can't imagine that they fit perfect in year one because you're still working with like a lot of the pieces from last year's defense and trying to like fit them into this year. So you're going to have some round pegs going into square holes, but it's going to be interesting to see how it all shakes out.
I want to go through a couple positions if I could. First of all, cornerback. Where does Taylor play? Does he play inside? Does he play outside? Does he play a combination of both? Is it McKinstry and Yedem on the outside and they're using Taylor inside? Or is he so good he's got to be on the field for first down?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things with him where, like, if it's two cornerbacks on the field, he's probably going to be outside. If it's three cornerbacks on the field, then Yedem will play outside and he'll play inside because he's so good in the slot. He's learned the slot. I mean, that first game last year against the Panthers stands out where he had the 3 sacks. Like his speed, he loves contact. Like we talked to him the day before pads went on and he was like, man, I'm just bored out there. Like you could tell like he just was living for the contact. And so I think that when there's two cornerbacks, he'll be on the outside. When it's not, he'll be on the inside. But man, Kool-Aid McKinstry has had one hell of a camp. Like he's probably one of those guys that is up for like camp MVP, you know, and he is poised, I believe, to have a big, and he played well at Alabama. Like you knew what he was about. But he has a chance. I mean, he's going to have all the chances in the world, but he has a chance to do really well and to really turn some heads this season.
Stutzman, Riley, Sanker, rookies on the defensive side of the ball. How much playing time do you think they get this year?
I think that Quincy Riley will probably be like their fourth corner. I can certainly see that. I think Sanker's tape, you know, from like Ross and from Luke Johnson with NOLA.com, and so many of those guys talk about like, man, like his tape was a fun one to watch. And even some of the highlights, I didn't watch his tape, but I watched some of the highlights, and some of his highlights were really cool. And so like you could see him being like a third safety maybe on the field at times. But then Stutzman, whenever Pete Werner or Demario Davis needs a spell, he's working with the ones. And so, and he was, of all of the draft picks, he was personally my favorite draft pick because I got to watch him. I studied him going into the week 3 against Tulane last year, and I was like, wow, like this kid, like Butkus award semifinalist or finalist, whatever it was at the time, and like he's just flying all over the place. And you know, you talk, John Summerall had so many good things to say about him. And then that week 12, they play at LSU, Oklahoma does, and it's like, man, like this kid is good. And so I think that he certainly will have some sort of role because again, you got to spell people, and the NFL has a 100% injury rate. Like somebody's going to get hurt. You're bound to get hurt at some point. And so, I think he's going to have a very decent role on that defense. On
offense, I want to ask you about wide receiver. Do you think they go out and get a big receiver? Are they finished with the wide receiver room right now in terms of maybe additions? And then also running back. Well, again, a lot of really good running backs on this team right now. How does that shake out? Yeah,
so running back is interesting because to me they have more depth at running back than they have over the last, 3 to 4 years or something like that. Like since Mark Ingram left, this is probably the most depth that they've had at running back. And so I think that's really interesting how that battle shakes out between Cam Akers, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Kendre Miller. Devin Neal has a hamstring injury, so he's going to be out the next couple weeks. But the other thing with running backs is we can't really see a whole lot because there's no live tackling. You know what I mean? It's just thudding and two-hand touch. And for a run game, it's hard to see just how like holes develop and then yards after contact and even like pass protection and things of that. Like, we have to see games. Like, I think that for the running back position, the preseason games matter more than anything else. You know, when you talk about like some of the other positions, you can get a good feel for like, okay, this wide receiver has had a bunch of good, like Mason Tipton has had a bunch of good days in camp. Like, you can tell from Tipton, okay, he's in the lead to make a roster spot. Doesn't mean that it can't change, but like he certainly is in a good position to have a roster spot. With the running backs, there is, at least from my educated, uneducated eye, I have no idea to tell you how it is. But I think those preseason games, and honestly, Kellen Moore and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who we talked to on Tuesday, both kind of intimated to, man, those preseason games are huge for us. Wide receiver, they probably need to add a veteran, bigger wideout because all of their wide receivers are 6 foot and under, essentially. Like, there's all small, fast guys. Like, Chris Olave is talented. Rashid Shaheed is talented, but that is probably the room that has the least depth of any room. Like, if one of those guys get hurt, Rashid Shaheed also, like, he was somebody that after the first week, he was my MVP of camp. I think he's looked really good. But if one of those two guys get hurt, like, they're in bad shape in my mind. You know what I mean? And I think Brandon Cooks has something to offer, but like, do you want Brandon Cooks to be your second option or your first option? Like, that is going to be tough. And there was a time last year where when it came to Shaheed and when it came to Olave, both of them were out for large chunks. And so, yeah, wide receiver is certainly concerning and like something that probably still needs to address just because they have a bunch of the same type of toys.
Yeah, I would agree. And look, again, when you have smaller receivers and there's already, again, been a sample size of the injuries, you have to backload that position. And I'll be interested to see, again, how they're going to do that and how active they're going to be on the waiver wire when it comes to, again, the only cut now when you talk about the NFL. We'll move on from the Saints now to LSU. LSU is 9th in the coaches poll. There are 9 SEC teams that are ranked this in the preseason coaches poll. Texas is 1st, Georgia's 4th, Alabama's 8th, LSU's 9th, South Carolina 13th, Ole Miss 15th, Florida 17th, Tennessee 18th, and Texas A&M 21st. Now, again, LSU getting ready, obviously, to go to Clemson, who is 6th in the nation, and going up against a really good Clemson team who, again, has a very, very stout defensive line. Of course, there were reports yesterday out of LSU practice that Garrett Nussmeier was injured. Again, we know that was a false story. But with that said, much like with the Saints, much like with Tulane, much like with LSU, again, when you are having as many turnover in your roster with the transfer portal, continuity and meshing is going to be a big part of this. And now you got to go up to Clemson on August the 3rd. They play against a team that's the 6th ranked team in the nation. Your thoughts on the Tigers taking on Clemson?
Yeah, it's not been good for LSU in these week 1 games, and they haven't won a week 1 game since 2019, since pre-COVID. You know what I mean? Like that 2020 season, they opened up with Mississippi State and lost at home, and so and these week 1 games have also been against Power 5 teams, but like this is LSU that we're talking about. Like, you know, like they're supposed to win one of those games, and so LSU has put a lot of focus on week 1. In their meeting room, they typically have all of the opponents listed up there. They only have Clemson listed. So it's going to be interesting to see just how much that maybe helps. You know, Brian Kelly has said a lot, like, hey, look, we're not just focused on week 1, or that, like, we're hyper-focused. Like, we're focused on week 1, but it's not the end-all, be-all, but, like, we're trying to change our approach to it so that we like come into week 1 with a more serious like attitude and effort and things of that nature. And honestly, I'm so curious to see if it helps or if it hurts, because it's almost like they've talked about Clemson too much. Like I wonder what, and Clemson's given some bulletin board material, but man, bulletin board, man, that is, you can ball up bulletin board and throw that in the fire and it's like fuel. You know what I mean? Like sometimes it gives somebody that extra motivation to beat you down. And you're going there. You're going to Clemson. It's not like this game is at LSU. And so it's going to be interesting to see how that works. I think this team is poised to make the playoffs, to be in a playoff spot. I mean, they certainly have the roster for it, you know. And the thing that's most important with the transfer portal, they have brought in a lot of guys from the transfer portal that will play big roles. Right. I think that you probably want the core of your team to be guys that have been on your roster, and then you're bringing other guys in to like kind of fit your culture. And so like having Nuss back, having Aaron Anderson from Carr back, having Chris Hilton back, having Whit Weeks back, the Weeks brothers, but Whit specifically, having Harold Perkins, the New Orleans native, back. Like having some of those guys back in the fold is really important because it's like, okay, here we are, here is how we have it, and this is the culture that we're trying to chase, and the other guys can get behind that. You're not asking for new guys to come and like automatically be leaders of this group. You're just asking them to come in and do their role. And I think when that's the case, you still have a lot of guys to mesh, especially in week one against a team in Clemson who doesn't do transfers. Right. They're the exact opposite of the transfer portal era and NIL era. They want to stick with their roster. That continuity could certainly be an advantage for Clemson in week one.
And I think that LSU will be a better team in late September and early October than they are going to be on August the 30th.
Absolutely.
Against a very, very tough team. And look, when you have the have to go to as deep in the transfer portal as they did this year, and look, rightly so. Again, they're embracing it. They got the money. They should go out there and do that. You know, again, I go back to continuity, and that offensive line is going to be tested in week one because Clemson has got some studs.
Yeah, and that's the position of most concern for LSU is offensive line because, like, running back, you got Caden Durham back. Tight end, you got Trey'Dez Green back, and he looks really good. Like he looks like he could be a monster.
The kid from Oklahoma.
You've brought in the kid from Oklahoma as well, but like Trey'Dez Green is still really good. You know what I mean? And so like there's so many different positions, but on your offensive line, you lost 4 guys to the draft. You lost 4 guys to the NFL. Like that's gonna be hard to replace, and you have these competitions, and it doesn't mean that they can't fit right in and be fine. But that is a tough ask, especially in week one against a team that was in the playoffs last year, right? They were one of the 12.
And I think 3 of their linemen are at least, talked about going in the first round of the draft, maybe the first and maybe the top 15 of the draft.
Yeah, so it's going to be so interesting to see how that goes. But, you know, LSU, like I said, they have the talent, especially at the skill positions, especially at quarterback. Like, I mean, Nuss is in discussion potentially to go first overall. Right. And I don't think it would be one thing if that was just LSU fans saying it, but you hear national pundits and experts saying like, no, this kid has this thing or that thing. And like, I like Nuss. Like, I like a lot of what Nuss has done. When the second half of the Texas A&M game last year, it's like he went back to his default settings. It's like somebody reset the phone inside of Nuss, and like all of a sudden he kind of went back to like a little bit more of a gunslinger and taking chances, and that is what turned the momentum of that game.
Agreed.
And he wasn't really able to figure it out for the next few weeks. And so, but overall, I like Nuss. I like what he has to offer. I like his arm strength. I even like his accuracy. Sometimes being, like we talked about Shuck being risk averse.
Yes.
Nuss doesn't have that problem.
Complete opposite.
Complete opposite. and honestly, someone who else was risk averse at one time was Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, right.
Jaden Daniels, his first year at LSU.
He wouldn't throw the ball over the middle.
Yeah, he was tucking it a lot.
Right.
He was still really talented. He was still really freaking good. But and it's like probably my favorite quote from Brian Kelly is they told him, we don't want you to be perfect, we want you to be excellent. Like, we're okay if you throw an interception. You know what I mean? And it opened something up for Jaden that allowed him to win the Heisman and to be the number 2 pick and to be the rookie of the year in the NFL and like all of those different things. He don't have to get that message to Nuss. You don't have to tell him like you almost telling him, hey, be perfect. Like, because you don't have to tell him, hey, don't be perfect, be excellent. Although he is definitely going out there to be excellent. And I think with a second year of starting, you're going to see a level of growth in Nuss, and having one of the best quarterbacks in college football certainly doesn't hurt.
And look, again, they had the #1 transfer portal class. They have a very good, again, freshman class coming in. They had a good freshman class last year. It's difficult for LSU, like a lot of teams now, to hold on to those players if they don't get a chance to play right away. But it is what it is. And look, again, they, at least on paper, they look poised to be one of those top teams that's going to have a chance to be able to get into the playoffs.
Yeah, I think so. And if LSU is not in the top 4 in the SEC, then I think that I don't know if Brian Kelly is out, but I think Brian Kelly is then on the hot seat for sure, because there's been a lot of talk, there's been a lot of fundraising, especially after they lost Bryce Underwood to Michigan, and lost another recruit. Like we've seen the NIL money and donations go up, and it's resulted in a lot of these people that they've picked up. But you got to cash in at some point. It doesn't necessarily mean national championship. Though, of course, that's always going to be the expectation. But, like, you got to be in the playoffs. It's crazy for a program of LSU's caliber in the history of the playoffs to have only made the playoffs once. Right. Like, LSU should not be able to say that.
No, especially, again, when you talk about that, this school, the money they have, the NIL money, again, the cachet, again, everything that goes on along with that, I would agree 100%. And I do, again, for Brian Kelly, I agree with you. I think, again, it is playoffs or bust for him. I think that there will be someone out there who will be willing to buy him out no matter what that is, depending on what goes on. And I would keep an eye on the guy that's down here right now we're about to go with, again, as maybe a possible replacement down the line if it doesn't work out. And that's John Sumrall, who has done an incredible job. Once again, turns his roster over almost completely. Again, now dealing with, again, a quarterback situation with Reslef coming in, again, from BYU, Sullivan coming in from Iowa by way of Northwestern. They're 36th in the coaches poll, receiving 31 votes. Memphis was 34th. Army was 33rd, coming out of the American. But most people believe that Tulane is going to be in the mix for that playoff spot. Your thoughts on the Greenies? Tough opener against Northwestern. You hope it's going to be a really hot day at Yeoman at 11 o'clock in the morning. But I really like what Sumrall has done in terms of turning this roster over once again.
Yeah, I hope it's not a really hot day because I'm going to be out there for that game. So I'm not wishing that on myself. Right. But, look, Sumrall, I've been in this business for 11, 12 years, 13 years, whatever it is now. I've not met many more impressive coaches, let's even say just college football coaches, than John Sumrall. I can tell that he tells it like it is, and he's somebody that you could see why people would want to rally behind him. You know what I mean? And yeah, he's done a good job of turning the roster over. The biggest question was at quarterback, but to get someone like Jake Retzloff out of the portal, really, he wasn't even in the portal. Right. Just to get him as a transfer, as a walk-on because of his situation at BYU. Right. But BYU last year was 11-2. Right. And they were one win away during the regular season to being in the Big 12 championship. You know what I mean? And then obviously with the chance to go to the college football playoffs. And so he is a guy that comes with a lot of cachet. He's a senior. He's somebody that wants to go to the NFL. So for someone like him to fall into your lap, because the spring game wasn't very encouraging from the quarterback perspective. There's a lot of talent in other places. But quarterback, it left something to be desired. Didn't mean that those guys couldn't potentially.
Simonza and Leary, right?
Yeah, Simonza, Donovan Leary, and Caden Simonza. Right. They showed little things, but the ball didn't move the way that you wanted it to. And so bringing in Brendan Sullivan, who's looked good so far, and then bringing in Retzloff. Right. As well, it's going to be just so interesting to see how that battle plays out. But if Retzloff, let's just say he pans out, right? Let's say he's your starter. Week 1 might be asking a lot, you know what I mean?
I agree.
But if he's your starter, then, you have a chance to do some really cool things. The only thing that may get in Tulane's way as far as a playoff spot is concerned is that their non-conference schedule is extremely tough. it's not just Northwestern.
Right.
It's Duke. You get to go against Darian Mensah.
Right.
What scriptwriter wrote that one in, that you get to go against your starting quarterback from last year, comes back to Yeoman. I'm sure they're going to have a very warm welcome for him in Uptown. But like you have to play Duke, you have to play Northwestern, and you have to play Ole Miss at Ole Miss. Duke and Northwestern are at least at home. Ole Miss is at Ole Miss. If you win 2 of those 3 games, you're in business.
Yeah.
You're in business big time. But if you lose 2 of those 3 games, I don't know if people have Northwestern or Duke pegged as playoff teams right now.
Right.
Ole Miss, maybe. But if you lose 2 of those 3 games, it's just going to be hard to climb back into that.
Right.
That doesn't mean that you won't have a successful season. College football is so much greater than the national championship, and that might sound anticlimactic or sound like I'm dismissing the national championship, but it's just college football is about rivalries. College football is about conference and winning your conference and having those celebrations. And it's about bowl games, being able to participate in those bowl activities. And it's about so many things other than just that one final prize that we watch between the last 2 teams, that if Tulane doesn't make the playoffs, but they still end up 10-2, 11-1, or really even, let's say, 10-3, and they win the conference and go to a bowl game, that's still a really good season and something that John Sumrall should be commended for.
And especially because of what he's been had to do. Comes in from Willie Fritz. Again, the cupboard is bare. All of a sudden, again, working nonstop into the transfer portal and recruiting, and then comes right back again and doubles down on it once again this year. So again, Tulane is in good hands, and also the commitment to athletics is there as well.
And I'm about to say, and I wouldn't say the cupboard was bare.
No, it wasn't. That's true.
Yeah, I'm about to say they did have some. There was some talent. There was some talent that was.
But they did lose. They
lost a lot. But I'm just saying, when you Pat Jenkins is not a bare cupboard.
No, he's not. And neither was Mensah or Hughes.
Yeah, and I'm about to say Mekhi Hughes. Not a bare cupboard.
Not at all.
there was certainly talent. Bailey Despani is still on this team. Tyler Grubbs, there were guys, to what we were talking about before, having that foundation. He had foundational pieces there who bought into what he was doing. He was able to bring in some other really talented guys.
Guys from Troy as well.
Absolutely. And you have all of that in place, and then now those 2 cultures meshing together is what creates what gets you back into the AAC championship game.
Tulane is in the perfect position now when this transfer portal, again, for kids Louisiana is such a hotbed, as you know, for covering high school football. They want to come back to Louisiana. They got a chance to go to play in New Orleans, play at Tulane, and have a chance to get to the NFL. And again, that is something that wasn't happening years and years ago, but it is now.
Well, and then also on top of kids coming back, now Tulane has a legitimate seller. Okay, our quarterback 2 ago, he got drafted. Our last quarterback made $4 million in the portal, allegedly. And so it's between those 2 things, now you can convince a high school guy or a younger quarterback, hey, you're not telling them, hey, you can come here and then go somewhere else and make money. But it's hey, look, we clearly have something that is appealing to others, for other maybe college teams to want to take, or for the NFL to want to use at their disposal for their next great stars.
You know why now? I like this guy on my shows, right? Again, Seth Lewis, again, radio, TV. Again, just a plethora of information. Thanks so much for joining us here today on Inside New Orleans Sports. And again, love having you on the program. Look forward to having you back on again very, very soon.
Thank you always, Asher.
There you go. All right. Remember, there's a QR code on your screen right now that will take you to my website, ericasher.com, and also the WLAE-TV YouTube channel. Again, also set your DVR. You'll never miss our program. So many ways to catch our show. WLAE-TV, WLAE-TV2, Pelican Sports Network. Again, we're on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Again, pick your time, set your DVR. You'll never miss the program. Also, catch me on the radio, 106.7 The Ticket. You can listen live at ericasher.com. Also, we have our app, 106.7 The Ticket app. I'm on 4 to 6 weekdays. Also, again, Anchor, Spotify. We're on all podcasting platforms. Just search Inside New Orleans Show with Eric Asher, and you'll find that pretty easily. Hey, want to thank, again, the underwriters who make our show possible. Without them, there is no show. Please support the underwriters that support our program. And also, again, the folks here at WLAE-TV who do a fantastic job producing our show each and every week. Ron Yeager, Jim Dotson, Ali Chacon, the best director on the planet, William Hill. For For Seth Lewis, I'm Eric Asher. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week for another edition of Inside New Orleans Sports. Thanks for watching.
Hello, I'm Norman Robinson. Join me every Tuesday night of the month at 9:30 for Affordable Housing Matters, a show developed to educate the viewers in the New Orleans metro area with step-by-step basics of home ownership. Every show, we will bring in leaders and representatives to discuss topics such as credit counseling, home buyer training, mortgage lending, property insurance, fair housing practices, and so much more. Again, that's Tuesday nights at 9:30, right here on WLAE.
Hey, I'm Keith Spiro from NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune. My guest this week on Let's Talk is comic and comedy producer Matt Owens. Matt, are you a funny guy? Are you more funny when you're working as a comic or when you're like directing a show?
As a comic, I'm more funny.
Excellent. All right. Well, we'll hear all the secrets of the comedy world this week on Let's Talk.
We're local and educational. You're watching WLAE-TV, celebrating 40 years of New Orleans public television.